Oh my god, I haven't been on Common App in forever. How did I not break down in the process? Oh, there's a typo. Hey guys, I'm finally back. I can't believe I'm done. I'm sorry I've been offline because of IB exams. I will make a video about all of that stuff, like IB reviewing, IB cramming, all of my IB material. I was just about to stack them up the other day. They were literally like half my height. So we're talking about a pile that's at least like this tall. Not looking forward to that, but I need to throw out the trash. But before I actually, put in time and effort and drag myself down to my study room and look at the study materials again to organize them, I decided to come back with a, I think, useful video. This video is not going to include explicitly why I chose this school. It is going to include my basic high school statistics for the United States Common Application. So if you want to know how I got into Oxford PPE, go check out that video, or from that video check out this video, depending on when I upload. The stats are going to be quite similar. However, I'm also going to include what I call profiling, which is what kind of angle I presented myself to the universities. Now, disclaimer, not really disclaimer, but just a grain of salt. The way I intended to present myself may have been different than how I was actually perceived by the colleges. I'm not sure if I will ever find out how they perceive me during the application process. I'm not sure if I want to, but I'm just telling you guys what I wanted to go for. And hopefully this is helpful, especially if you're doing something like selecting what personal statement to send to which college. I feel like this would be helpful as well. Okay, without further ado, let me just get right into my stats. I'm Singaporean officially, so my race would be Asian, just so you know. I'm first language in English and Mandarin. I study at Shanghai High School International Division. Grades. Okay, so at the time that I applied, my GPA is terrible, by the way. My GPA is a 4.007 weighted. Our school a 4.007 weighted. Now, our school doesn't doesn't publish the ranking. We used to, I think, but then we stopped recently for good reason, I think. So now we just rank in terms of quintile. So if you're the top 20% quintile or top 40% quintile, 60, 80, etc. So I am in the top 20% quintile. Great. IB courses, English, IBA, English, HL, IBB, Mandarin, Chinese, HL. Oh, English is literature, by the way, not language and literature. Mathematics, SL, physics, SL, economics, HL, psychology, SL, theory of knowledge. So these are my current or most recent year courses. It doesn't say here, but I was predicted at 45. I'm telling you guys this because I know my school sent it to the colleges individually, like not Common App, but I know my school sends the predictive scores. Honors and activities I have linked in another video. Those I actually explain with a lot more detail, so I don't call those stats, like high school stats. I think those are just like high school activities. So check that video out. I'll link it in the description as well if you want to know that. Great. So my SAT, I took it in May, the 6th of May 2017. I got an 800 on math, and I got a 770 on evidence-based reading and writing, and I got a 23 out of 24 on the essay, and so it totaled us up to a 1570. For SAT subject tests, when I applied to UChicago, I only took one, the scores of one came out. It was mathematics level 2, 800. After that, I did take two more. They were like meh scores. I got a 760 on literature and I got a 760 on physics, but I didn't send them to UChicago. The math score was all I had at the time. I also had a AP Calculus BC5. I took that in May of 2017. And yeah, oh, TOEFL score. I actually scored really bad on the TOEFL. Like, compared to my peers, which I think our class averaged my class, I think we averaged a 116. I got 113. Long story. I made a very bad mistake during the TOEFL. I don't know. I don't really want to make a video about it. It's kind of embarrassing. I got 113 on it. Most of my points were gone in listening. Long story. And for IELTS, I got a total of 8.5 with a 9 in listening and reading, and then a 7.5 in writing, a 8.5 in speaking. I don't know how that happened. I think I know how that happened, actually. It's an interview, so sorry, I digress. But overall, 8.5 out of 9 for IELTS. Activities in the other video. Okay, and I think the rest is just my profiling. Okay, great. Okay, so from this point on in the video, I'm going to be talking about my profiling, which is the essays I chose for UChicago. Okay, so I wrote a total of 2 personal statements. I had a long list of like rejected personal statement topics, as well as I think 3 or 4 other personal statement drafts. I finalized it down to 2 personal statements, and I was choosing between them to send to UChicago. One of them was meant to showcase my like intense inquisitivity, like my kind of like knack, not really knack, for asking questions all the time. I know it sounds cliche, but honestly, personal statement writing is about how you turn cliche topics and write them in a very uncliche way, or in a way that people will remember you for what you're writing about. So the essay that I chose to send as my Common App personal statement to UChicago was that essay. I'll talk more about it in detail, but it basically showcases that, you know, it's kind of like the journey thing. It showcases how I went from being asking questions too much to the point of almost insensitivity. Like I talked about how I made like a person, like an adult, like a South African consul general cry with one of my questions, which was a shock to me at the time as well, and how I learned from that, and like overall like my reflections on how do you ask sensitive questions in like this point of time. For additional information, I actually filled this in. Okay, so back to UChicago. My perception of UChicago, it's a very, of course, greatly academic, rigorous place, but it's extremely passionate about sometimes the weirdest things ever. Like you could be, you know, so involved in math, and you could be strangely passionate about like mythological horoscopes, or like Arabic horoscopes. That's entirely possible. In my mind, that's the kind of combination you'll have. And I also feel like people at UChicago, obviously I'm not there yet, so this is all generalizations based on what I know, but I feel like everyone there has this very interesting side of them, like this quirk, or they're just like naturally interesting, but also very humble and understated at the same time. And of course, they have like good self-management skills, or rather bad self-management skills, and good survival skills. So I wanted to add something about my everyday life that I felt like showcased my match to UChicago because of that. So that was what I mean by profiling. So for the additional information part in the Common App, I was actually advised not to fill this out unless I have something really interesting, because it's just more things for the admissions officer to read, right? But I decided to fill it in, and I guess it worked out. So I have a lot of turtles. We're talking 200 plus of all different species. It's been a long thing in my family. I also have a mega family of hedgehogs. The time I wrote this essay, I had 14. Since then, there have been more. I've sold some, I've given some away. More are still coming. They just won't stop reproducing. And so basically I wrote about what my daily schedule is like. I wake up
in the morning, trying to feed my turtles, you know, change the water. Some are sick. In the winter, they hibernate great, but then in the summer, oh God, everyone's awake in the summer. And so you have to deal like up in the balcony, and then you have to go into the tanks. If it's gonna rain that day, I probably have to cover the tanks with the meshing and the netting, etc., etc. And then have to take care of the hedgehogs, make the food for them. Like different turtles have different diets and different calcium plans sometimes. If this turtle is not feeling well, it probably needs to soak in medicinal water, etc., etc.
All of these things need time. I have a very supportive family. And most of the time I feel like I'm helping my mother. And also my brother is also helping a lot now that I'm really busy. Well, I was really busy. But I wrote it into my Common App, and it's just a short little, like, it's not a paragraph. Okay, it's not short. It's about 450 words, I think 500 words. I can read a bit more about it if you guys want me to. Yeah, comment down below if you want to hear it. I'm not going to read a part of it because it's kind of niche, I think. I don't think a lot of people can relate to this. If you can, very interested. But yeah, that is what I wanted to showcase to UChicago especially. For some schools, I didn't end up applying to any of the schools I was going to, but I finished all the applications. I was just going to send them out. So for some schools, I chose not to include this because I feel like it wouldn't fit with their school atmosphere, or I feel like I had better things to showcase rather than this trait. Yeah. Back to academics. For your major, of course, you can put not undecided, or you can put decided. For me, I put political science first, and then I put second academic discipline economics. Third of all, I put interdisciplinary studies in the humanities because I didn't know what else to put. I would always recommend you to fill this in. Even if you are actually undecided, I would still recommend you to fill this in, especially for a major that fits quote unquote your profile. So for me, a big part of my application, if you watch my activities and honors video, is my experience in student government and MUN and all of that. And I actually am genuinely passionate about political science and economics. But if you are on the verge of undecided or not, I would recommend you to go with the major that fits with your profile. If you attend a lot of math competitions, but you don't want to major in math in college, maybe, and you want to put yourself as like a math person, maybe you want to consider putting math as your major, intended major, even though you're actually secretly passionate about something else. The good thing about American universities is that you are allowed to change afterwards. So this is just more, what kind of person are you? Let me try to understand you from the admissions officer perspective. Okay, and then for the UChicago personal statement, like the UChicago uncommon essay, it was my other personal statement. I just turned it into the UChicago uncommon essay. I wrote about how I love metaphors and my relationship with puns and metaphors and all of that. It was more 文艺, which means like artsy of the two. One was more quirky, like the questions one, and one was more like beautiful language, more flowy, more artsy. I think that's the best way to describe it. And so I chose that one to be my uncommon essay because I think it fit the one of the prompts a bit more. And then I chose the other one to be my personal statement. Yeah, I talked about my Y essay already. I actually love my UChicago Y essay. Check that video out if you haven't. And that's basically how I profiled myself and also my high school statistics. That, fingers crossed, are what got me into, and they're what got me into UChicago. Yeah, not much else to say. Yeah, I don't have an outro yet. Click on these videos, I guess, if you like to hear me talk about college apps, like the most stressful time of your life. No, it's not. The most stressful point of your life until now. It's going to get worse. This is not how I planned this video to go.